It's hard to imagine something as mindlessly joyous as a holiday parade turning into the scene of a mass casualty event. But that's where we are. Last night, during the annual Christmas parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin, a man driving a red SUV rammed his car into the parade, killing 5 people and injuring nearly 50 more. According to the Children's Hospital of Wisconsin, 18 of those injured are children. Police have identified the suspect as 39-year-old Darrell Brooks. He's facing 5 counts of first-degree intentional homicide. Police say he was fleeing the scene of a domestic incident when he drove through the parade. And as senseless and chaotic as the night was, I do want to play you this moment from Waukesha Police Chief Dan Thompson, who focused on the single bright spot in an overwhelming cloud of tragedy.
Minutes after the incident occurred, I responded to the scene, and what I saw out of chaos and tragedy was heroes. First responders and the community coming together and working together on triaging victims, the fire department, working in partnership with the fire department, getting these victims to the hospital.
Joining me now is Alan Kind. He's a middle school teacher in Waukesha and was at the Christmas parade Sunday night. Alan, first of all, how are you doing? How are you holding up?
Physically, I'm totally fine. I'm emotionally shaken, as is my family.
I understand you were there at the parade with your family. How are they doing?
I think they're doing okay as well. My 2 young boys did not witness exactly what I did. They saw victims on the ground being treated, and I'm glad that they didn't see quite the horror that I witnessed last evening.
I know this event was tragic, and it's hard for me to even ask so close to your trauma, but do you mind breaking down what you saw yesterday? What happened?
Well, my family and I, we were standing on the side of the road, what we believed was the end of the parade, and out of my peripheral vision to the right, I noticed a car swerving erratically and making its way over towards my side of the street. The short video clip that you showed just a little bit earlier, I was actually in that video. Just prior to the first person being impacted, I am literally within 10 feet, and I saw the person's eyes. There was an intent, just a glare, almost an emotionless type of look on the face, but intent. I mean, the person was on a mission. I was actually there with a small church group of mine. My pastor and several other people were there as well. My pastor, his daughters were probably within 2 feet of being hit. It was horrific. So my initial reaction was that this was a medical emergency. I just believe maybe somebody's having an emergency and this can be dealt with. But a second or two later, after the first person was grazed with the front right fender, about a second later, the second person was hit much more severely. And immediately I knew this was not an accident. This wasn't a medical emergency. The car literally drifted back into the line of traffic. So I knew that this was an intentional act. So I knew my family was safe behind me, and I ran out. Upon my first inspection of the first person on the ground, I made a judgment decision that person was not seriously injured. So I walked I ran 20 feet additionally, where I saw a young boy bleeding from the nose and the mouth. And I asked him where the majority of his pain was coming from. And he said he didn't say anything. He couldn't talk, but he was gesturing that it was from his abdomen area. And I I said that if you can, I'd like you to move onto your side. I didn't want him to choke on his own blood. Within a half minute later, trained medical people came on the site and said that we need to step back. So that's about it.
And as you described, you jumped so quickly into action to help people who were visibly injured. What made you act so quickly? What pushed you to act so fast?
I believe I did what any decent human being would do. I'm a father, and had that been one of my boys on the ground, I would have wanted another caring human to show up and show compassion. And that's what I tried to do.
You're a teacher, you're a middle school teacher. How do you plan on having the conversation with your students about what happened last night? What are you going to tell them?
I think first of all, I'm sure our faculty will sit down and strategize. I guess everything is too fresh in my mind, and I must admit I haven't even really strategized that yet.